Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of The Fifth Dimension, episode number 80. And we are continuing the hype when it comes to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and Nintendo is not slowing down. We are about 20 days away from the fantastical release of the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And today we have an amazing friend along for the ride to talk all things Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and more. Everyone, please welcome Austin John Plays. How you doing today?
Hi, everyone. Now, you may think that just no one wanted to be on today, but HNK was like, yo, Austin's here. It has to be special. It's just going to be me and him. We're just gonna hang out like we're back in Boston.
Oh, man, that was a fun time, and I'm glad we hung out. And I see that you got something going on when it comes to a drink, so let me go ahead and match that up right now. Oh, man.
Oh, I'm drinking tea. My voice is.
Oh no, this is
I spent the last week in Puerto Rico, and my voice and my liver are both very tired.
this is water. It's water.
Oh, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Mine's just British water.
I feel that. But we haven't talked since the final trailer dropped, and I want to gauge what you have going on, because I've seen a bunch of videos, including that I don't know how you got that done, like 100 plus things you may have missed from the Tears of the Kingdom final trailer. That was insane. And I just wanted to ask you really quick, what, like, you can say multiple things. I usually say, what's your favorite thing? What were your favorite things from the final trailer when it came to Tears of the Kingdom?
I feel like the lore of Skyward Sword is going to be implemented in this, and I'm very excited for that. Considering, well, there was zero lore in Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't finish Hyrule Warriors, the
Age of Calamity. Yeah.
But then I watched Zeltic's recap of everything, and I was like, oh, that's what happens. Thanks for saving me like 90 hours there, dog. So I'm interested to see if the descendants of the champions are going to have knowledge of the events that transpired during that game.
Right.
If we're going to be following that rift in story, or what's going on for that. Which, if you think about it, you could argue that there's 3 different timelines that emerge because of the actions of that game.
Yeah.
Which way it's gonna go. Other stuff like that. That's fucking Demise.
Yeah.
That's Demise.
Oh, we go talk about that. We go talk about that.
I don't know how no one is saying that's not Demise. That's Demise.
So, my take on the whole, like, Skyward, I adore Skyward Sword. You already know, like, and anyone who knows me knows that Skyward Sword is, like, in my top 3 Zelda games.
Skyward Sword.
Man, Skyward Sword is so good. I love
Sword
it.
crawled so that Breath of the Wild could run.
Yeah, basically, right? And when it comes to Age of Calamity, which, by the way, I was able to 100% that game in 120 hours, and I'm like, I like that game. I'm a sucker for Warriors games. But when it comes to the lore possibly, like, rearing its head in Tears of the Kingdom, and don't get me wrong, I love Age of Calamity. There's a lot of people have noticed, myself included, and then Zeltic and Commonwealth Realm and NBC, they're all up on this. There's a lot of discrepancies when it comes to the lore that was supposed to be inherent to Breath of the Wild, and then when it's applied to Age of Calamity, there's like small things and then glaring things that don't really add up, and a lot of people are just, at the end of, there's a whole Zelda, I'm pretty sure there was like Zelda Universe article that broke down like every single discrepancy to the point where, like, guys, I think this is not going to be canon at all, right? Like, I don't think the champions are going to remember that in Tears of the Kingdom. They could acknowledge it a little bit, but if they do, I don't think it's going to be anything, more than just a nod. I mean, it was cool that in the DLC that Tulin got to shine a little bit with Revali and Teba, and now that Tulin is going to be like more grown up and actually taking an active role in Tears of the Kingdom. So they could acknowledge that in that sense, but I don't know. But
is that how his name is pronounced? It's Tulin?
I have no idea. I am going off like
Tulin.
Tulin? I just been going off. I've been saying Tulin. You know what? Like, anyone in the chat, correct me if they're wrong, if they actually say Tulin in Age of Calamity, because they say a lot of words that weren't said in Breath of the Wild. I mean, like, Hetsu got a voice actor, and whatnot. I've been saying Tulin, and until I'm like corrected in Tears of the Kingdom, I'm just gonna keep saying that. But When it comes to Demise, that's a great point to start talking about because
oh yeah, that's where we're starting.
Yeah, that is definitely starting with this.
we're just gonna run knee deep into the shit.
Oh, let's do this. So, without a doubt, that is Demise's design. I'm gonna say that 100%. The long hair, the fact that the blood moon is in the distance, which by the way, that like shot every time there's a video game or a movie that does that with a giant like planet or moon like really close in the distance. I love like screenshots like that. But when it comes to that design, red flowing hair, the malice, and the clothing having that scaly, what do you call that scaly design that Demise is known for, when he's either the imprisoned or when he's actually like Demise at the end of Skyward Sword. It's very reminiscent of that. And like you said, even with Breath of the Wild as it having its minimal lore, it had a lot of callbacks to Skyward Sword specifically, right? Which makes sense because it was the next 3D game that came after Skyward Sword. So I would assume that there was I would think they would, go a lot with that. And with Tears of the Kingdom building off Breath of the Wild and building off Skyward Sword, there was a reason why they put out HD, on the Switch. I do feel that Demise is going to be referenced heavily in the game, but in my opinion, that shot that we saw was Ganondorf channeling Demise. Like him just taking on his appearance.
I think we're not going to be seeing the original dissolved entity that was Demise at the birth of time. That persisted through that physical being that we saw in that water plane during the battle with Link.
Which was amazing.
We're going to get that physical interpretation of Demise.
Right.
However, we are going to have Demise within Ganondorf.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I believe we have the goddess Hylia inside of Zelda, and that's who the brown chick is with the pointy ears.
Right. So, I
don't think we're getting it's not going to be two separate people.
Oh yeah, definitely not. It's going to be one 100%
that transforms or, as you said, channels the energy of, and channeling the energy will cause, physical deformities / changes that those things will ensue.
Right. I was all up on that road, and I feel that Tears of the Kingdom is going to follow with that whole idea way more than a lot of people are talking about. And I feel that that's going to be done through the tiers, right? Where these part of their abilities or powers allow you to channel a past life or your most inner, deepest hidden power in order to take on the form, abilities, and maybe even personalities of those that came before you. And, obviously, Demise before Ganondorf, Hylia versus Zelda before Zelda, which makes me begs the question, and that's one thing I want to bring up to you. I'm where do you, if at all, where do you think Link, resides in all this? Do you think he's going to channel previous heroes, or he's going to channel the original knight, the original chosen knight that we never saw in the lore within that of Skyward Sword when it comes to the goddess Hylia's first knight? What do you think about that?
I think the whole point and the essence of the Triforce of Courage is that he is going against two beings, two deities. And that's the reason he has the courage, because he is so far, behind the two of them, that he has the courage to get up and keep going through all the different iterations. Music Guitar Man said, Demise always inside of Ganondorf? Demise, the god, is sealed away inside of the Master Sword and then protected by Fi inside of there. That's the reason that the Master Sword being broken is so
imperative,
has such gravity to the current situation. How Ganondorf throughout millennia, throughout everything that's gone on, whichever reincarnation of Ganondorf this is, it is still Ganondorf, the Gerudo King, even though he can become Ganon with the Triforce of Power. The reason he hasn't had a physical form is because, some stuff went down. He just kind of been laying underground, and he was all like, yo, here's my purple goo. And he was trying to make a person.
The forbidden fudge.
And his timeline got really pushed up because they didn't have a good board meeting. They didn't have a flowchart presentation on what's going on. So he's all like, oh, shit. Grab some goo, grab some guardian parts. There you go. There's a thing. And then when Zelda came out of him, he went into Big Pig form.
Right.
Because reasons. And now that's going to happen again. You didn't destroy the problem. You didn't mend the arm. You just put a bandage on it. So if they don't go looking for the source of this evil, it's bound to return at some point.
Right.
If you don't get rid of all of the malice, if there's just a little bit of malice, then everything will eventually be malice, as we learned in Age of Calamity.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me acting like I actually played the entire game.
I mean, no, like you played enough. I mean, like, well, like you said, 10 hours.
Solid 14 hours.
Okay, see, that's
including
good.
the demo.
That's good. That's a good chunk, right?
And then once I got to the warlock in the woods or something,
yeah,
I was
Astor.
like, I think it's because I was doing like a let's play / tutorial series on YouTube, and it did not pop off. So I was like, I'm not gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, I saw that a lot of pre-release Age of Calamity stuff was definitely popping up, but once the game came out, people were like, eh. And then it was like the same thing with Star Fox Zero, but that's a different conversation. But like, it's funny how you brought up Aster for a little bit, because a lot of people really could have sworn that, you know, before we finally got the final confirmation of Ganondorf, it's like, oh, it could be Demise, of which I feel Demise, you know, is still going to be in the game. People were like, oh, it's Aster. Oh, and then there's people that are like, oh, it's Vati. And I'm like, yo, how?
What's Vati?
Vati is the main antagonist from Minish Cap, Four Swords Adventures. The Wind Mage.
Didn't play those ones.
Right. Yeah. I was like, when I saw people say it's Vati, I'm like, there's no way how people actually believe this. Anyways, we know that Ganondorf's back, and I'm incredibly excited for that. And when it comes to, like, you know, his use of malice, I find it so funny how in Breath of the Wild, like, malice was always like purplish, pinkish, or whatever. And there were times when we would defeat the Blights and Calamity Ganon itself, and it would just constantly like spew out malice. I'm like, oh man, like if this was redder, it would kind of look like it's bleeding, right? And now in this game, malice is like straight up like red. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see how Nintendo's gonna dodge around, you know, that possibility if they, you know, continue doing the whole like, hey, if you beat a boss, it just spews out malice or whatnot.
No, that's Blood Moon essence.
Blood Moon essence, like like the essence of Demise itself. It's not blood, it's essence.
Which I'm pretty sure, like, I have pretty much everything in my head figured out on all of the story trailer that we've seen so far. That's going to be happening between the Zelda and Zelda going underground and being taken in, and the weird light particles, maybe because she already has the tear and doesn't know what it does, and that's the reason she's investigating the Zonai temples, or because she was transported there by the Zonai people themselves because they have the technology and they sensed her and they're entering their realm because they hid underground because of the malice, and then the guardians of Ganondorf's body, and that's the reason that they're presenting the hand there, or what's going on with that. There's just one thing I'm not clear about in my head, which is,
let's get it.
Okay, Ganondorf laying on the bed, Master Sword is glowing. Ganon's all like, yo, that looks dope, nom nom nom, chews on the sword, eats up his arm because he didn't know when to stop. He's a little bit of a tubby kid, it's okay. And then, you know, Zelda falls in the hole, Link's not doing well, he's somehow brought up to the sky, and that's how he starts the story. Ganon is all like, yo, get this hand off my chest, I don't consent to this. And then he shuts the thing up, and then the castle is risen into the sky, and then a whole bunch of stuff is written into the sky, or it's brought down from the sky realm through the cloud barrier, whatever it is, right? The one thing I don't know is at what point does Ganondorf become fully powered up, get all of his energy back, channels the power of Demise, calls upon the Blood Moon, and then all the enemies become now stronger than they were in Breath of the Wild.
I think all right, I'm gonna try to piece together myself. I'm gonna try to wrap with that.
I feel like that's one solid thing that happens.
Yes, all in the beginning, I feel.
Under Ganondorf's control, the monsters are what they are, whether you know he's in person form or whatever. But I feel like only after he channels the power of Demise, that's the reason we see the Blood Moon bigger, redder, and ragier, and then you see all the different monsters appear in their new forms, which are now stronger or whatever than the Breath of the Wild ones, right?
Right. So here's why I think it goes down. So I feel that at one point either Zelda like Zelda either always had the tier on her, where that tier was like maybe locked away in Hyrule Castle, and then she just randomly found it and then started reacting. And it's like, hey, we should follow this thing to see where it's like leading us, and it could lead us to Ganondorf. That's one possibility. Or she possibly finds it on the way to Ganondorf, and they're looking for Ganondorf, or possibly something that resonated with the essence of the Triforce to try and build Hyrule. That's not important.
There's temples everywhere.
Yeah, that's not important. The important thing is that once they reach Ganondorf, there is I feel there's going to be a reaction between Ganondorf's tier and Zelda's tier that is honored, that allows him to awaken. The cataclysm or the upheaval starts, and then as Ganondorf wakes up, he sees that Link has the Master Sword and gives him the business, right? Link decides to jump after Zelda, who's falling into the crevice, but her tear saves her, in which you see it glowing in the final trailer, and I feel that zaps her away, but Link is still falling, and I feel that's where one of the shots that we saw from the first trailer comes into play, where the hand was on Ganondorf. It's like, hey, I'd rather save Link than keep Ganondorf at bay, because if this guy dies from like a head injury, then there's nothing stopping this dude if my hand gives out, right?
Or Fee hops out of the sword and is all like, yo, there's a 12.8% chance you're gonna die if you fall into this hole, dog, so I got you. Here you go, back on top of the sky where you're from. Oh wait, you're not the same Link. Oh shit, my bae.
I mean, maybe, there's like, up until, I feel like if Fee is gonna actually show up in Tears of the Kingdom, like physically, because like we've seen Fee, we've heard Fee in Breath of the Wild, but physically, I feel that'll be like an ending or like an Easter egg or like some super secret thing. Anyways, from what Nintendo has been stating on the website, I feel that Link is gonna like still fall and be knocked out on the ground while the arm ingrains into his damaged arm, which we saw in the second trailer. And
you think that arm becomes his arm?
Yes, yeah, the arm that's like like holding Ganondorf, that fuses with Link. And once the upheaval happens, I feel that the hidden temples or the hidden Zonai structures are reacting to the fact that Ganondorf is up, and they're like, we gotta go. But Link luckily was on a piece of land that was always destined to go up in case of that emergency. And then Link wakes up and he's like, oh, what am I here? And then according to the website, Nintendo states that Link has to get these new abilities in the sky where the game starts, and then come back down to Hyrule in order to start the adventure. So that's kind of like the beginning of the game, the Great Plateau essence of Tears of the Kingdom. But I feel that once Link gets all his powers, like Link, like when you look over Hyrule at this point, Hyrule looks fine. They're like, oh, what happened with Ganondorf? Whatever. Once you're going back down, a cutscene will play, kind of like how in Skyward Sword, when you return back to the surface, and then Groose just like, drops on you as a cutscene to like explain the halfway point of the game. I feel that once you get back down to the surface, once you're heading back down to the surface, a cutscene plays where Ganondorf finally like goes from mummy to dummy, and then like he activates everything, and then the blood moon happens, and he channels Demise for a little bit. That causes all the enemies to like get empowered. All of those malice circles that you see all over Hyrule, all the nasty stuff that's going on in Death Mountain, that big swirling cloud that's happening over in the Hebrew region. That's when it's going to happen. But then I feel that a very big focal point in the game is that Ganondorf can only channel Demise for so long, and that's probably why he may want the Tears of the Kingdom. But I mean, like, if he can only channel Demise for so long, his own power is nothing to like, shrug at, because I feel like he's going to be still really, really powerful in his own right. But in order to channel Demise longer and longer to the point where he's like, oh, I am now like, I can hold this form forever, he's going to need all the Tears of the Kingdom. And I feel that's going to be part of the adventure, if not like the main like thing on why we need to stop Ganondorf. Which I feel
think it's going to be very similar to how Ganondorf in Ocarina of Time was going after the 7 sages for the 7 medallions, in the same way that Link was going to help the sages, release the sages, whatever he was doing specifically to get the medallions himself.
Right. Because
now, here's the weird question is like, okay, there's 7. 4 races, Ganon, Zelda, Link.
Yeah.
Well, do Ganon and Zelda already have theirs? Are you going to go on 4 large arcing quests with the 4... I'm just going to call them champions.
Yeah,
now.
The new champions.
And then what, the friends we made along the way, the sense of self-discovery, you're going to earn yours. You have to go and help out the Deku tree. You have to go around and plant some trees.
I mean, it's like, possible.
What's Link's adventure, if not all of the adventures?
Someone in my chat like last time on the Fifth Dimension, brought up a really cool point where, like, what if there's like stories within stories, like you would think in a traditional RPG, and a big case of point, like what recently came out not too long ago, Octopath Traveler, where the main story
I
is.
love Octopath.
It's such a good game. Oh
Such
my goodness!
I rebought it on Steam because I found out that there were achievements, and I want to
it's over.
I want to do the solo character all 4 chapters run, and I also want to do the beat the whole game in 5 hours run, and then I want to do them in the same run.
That's a trophy?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds crazy.
So 5 hours, only one character, beat chapter 4.
Nice. So what I was saying is that there's gonna be the main story of like stop Ganondorf, obviously, but then there's gonna be like individual stories when you go and deal with the champions, the new champions, in which you help them with what they're doing and eventually get each of their own tiers, right? And that's like the sub stories in each story, and that the more you help along the way, the more could show up in the final battle against Ganondorf. Because someone pointed out something really interesting about Sidon in the others, where Sidon doesn't have a tier in the time when he's partnering up with you, and he has one later in the trailer on his hand. And another thing that he didn't have when he was partnering up with you is that he didn't have the Zora crown, right? He has the Zora crown later in the trailer, which could possibly insinuate that by the end of his story, he is crowned king, right? And I'm like, see, that's something that we could do in order to
maybe Ganon kills the king.
Maybe. I'm ready to see people die. Yo, Cass is gonna be the first one to die.
Yo, he better not.
No, he's gonna. He knows too much. He knows too much. I've been saying this forever. He knows too much, and Ganondorf is gonna be like, you, and just like, and then his wife is gonna be a widow, and he's gonna live behind like 5 kids.
My legs are just covered in mosquito bites from my trip.
Nah, you're good.
That's the reason it looks like I'm scratching this mosquito bite real hard.
But in that sense, I feel there's gonna be interweaving into Arkham stories, because as much as I want the Triforce to come back so badly, right? And it's in promotional material. If it doesn't, I feel that because like Ganondorf only wants one thing in this world, and that's the Triforce, right? And he wants the Triforce to rule over all of existence, right? But maybe the tiers is like the next best thing, right? It's definitely gonna be like the biggest focal point in like, you know, trying to like find all of these tiers and make sure they stay out of Ganon's clutches, and that's probably why he's dispatching all of these demons, all of these bosses, which I need to talk to you about. So how are we feeling on those potential boss-looking like bosses? Especially that giant ice. A lot of people think that's like an ice version of Goma. That like
no, it's not Goma. Goma doesn't have a big mouth like that.
I mean, Goma was a centipede in Wind Waker.
Okay.
So
well, in that case, then Goma could be, you know, a giant. Well, we've seen it. We're talking about the same thing. That's
the spider, yeah, the big spider.
Was that also the same spider in Twilight Princess?
It was named Armagoma, which a lot of people like.
So it's still a Goma.
It's a Goma, yeah. So, what are you thinking on those bosses? I mean, if it's not Goma or not, doesn't matter. What are you thinking on those like big bosses? Because we saw that giant ice like bug thing. We saw the giant Zonai mech, which I feel is a boss, kind of like Godon from Wind Waker. And then, of course, like other world bosses, including that Gleeox and other stuff. How are we feeling on the enemy variety this time around?
Well, I think the Gleeok is just going to be a random overworld boss in the same way that Phoenix is and Moldulgas are. We may see a final Gleeok in the way that we saw the Moldul King. Something like that. But, you know, those aside, I think the larger question you have to ask is, which way do you think that the dungeon structure is going to go, or lack thereof? Are we still going to have 4 prerequisite areas to go to actual guardians themselves, or follow that exact format? You could do all 4 in whatever order, which after playing Skyward Sword, it kind of feels like it was a very condensed version of that. Because if you remember in Skyward Sword, you have to go explore a new area. And the area was like part 1 of the dungeon. And then you go into the dungeon, and that's part 2 of the dungeon. And part 1 are typically quests that you have to figure out puzzles and display strengths of, and display feats of courage.
Yeah.
helping, you know, the tree people and whatnot.
Honestly, when it came to Skyward Sword, and there's one thing I really love about the game, other than the fact that when we go back above the sky, I felt we never left the dungeon when we're on the surface. Like, it was just one big dungeon just in parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And then some areas have like 2 areas that feel like two different dungeons. And then when you have to go back for the second time for the different thing, it's the dungeon remix.
Yeah,
whether you have to go off to the side now with time travel components, or if it's the same area as before but with swimming components, or whatever it is.
Right. I feel that with Tears of the Kingdom, I hope it's not like, you know, 4 and done like in, you know, Breath of the Wild. I honestly want to believe that there's going to be like 4 surface dungeons, 4 sky dungeons, and 4 underground dungeons, right? And that, like, you know,
I'm not fully sold on the everywhere is a huge underground system.
Not everywhere. There's going to be small caves. I really think there's going to be small caves, like grottos, like in Ocarina of Time, right? But I do think there are going to be some expansive underground areas. Not that there's...
Yeah, in like, Elden.
Yeah. Well, listen, I love Elden Ring so much.
Are we also talking about the same way that the giant Leviathan cave in the Hebra region would be considered one of those grottos?
Kinda, yes, exactly like that. Like one of the smaller grottos. Exactly like that. Huh? Wow, I completely forgot about that thing. But yeah,
I just replayed the game with a randomizer, which was so chaotic.
I could imagine.
Conrad was here, and like he would check in on me every half hour. He's like, "How's it going?" I'm like, "Well, I just got my 4th heart, and my 3rd heart got taken away, so now I'm down to 3 hearts. But I just got the Master Cycle 0, so I have that going for me, which is nice."
Man, I could just imagine you like helping out some random like you know, lady in Hatena Village, and it's like, "Here's Rivali's Gale," and I'm like, man, randomizers are great. I love randomizers.
Bro, I got Rivali's Gale Plus before I got the other 3 champions' abilities.
Jeez. So like Rivali's Gale Plus automatically puts that plus in the randomizer, or it's just like it starts as regular? Oh, that's crazy.
So you have to obtain Rivali's Gale, and then Rivali's Gale Plus is put into the loot pool. You cannot roll Rivali's Gale again, but you can roll Rivali's Gale Plus.
Awesome. Man, I got it. That's like the one randomizer I haven't done. Like I love Zelda randomizers, especially the 3D ones, but the one in my opinion is just like Majora's Mask randomizer is hell. That one is hell. That's when I have to like get a notepad out. It's like, okay, reset the world. All right, this is here, this is there, this is there. And I'm trying to finish another Wind Waker randomizer run. Ugh. But going back to that point, I feel that, you know, Nintendo once again stated in promotional
material. So hang on.
Yeah,
you and I, this is the same thing that happens when we drink in Boston. We keep getting distracted about what we were talking about. Dungeon structure.
Dungeon structure. Yep. That's why we're getting back to that.
Is it going to be like Breath of the Wild? Are we going to have 4 large dungeons? Or is it going to be a breakdown system like you were talking about? Right. Kind of like if you think about it in the DLC, you have to do those 3 champions shrines in order for the champion orb.
Exactly.
Or you got the 3 champion orbs, right? Or there were 4?
It was three.
Okay, whatever.
It was really arbitrary. It was just 3. Yeah. I was like, why 3? That's so whatever.
Or is it going to be something we're not expecting?
It could be something we're not expecting, but going off of Nintendo's promotional material on the website, they keep on saying, oh, like, once again, just like Breath of the Wild, play the way you want, go in whatever direction you want, right? And I feel that, like, I hope it's not 4, but I feel like it's going to be unstructured, where you can go to any dungeon you want, right? But then something tells me that there is going to be some sort of linearity because of the fact there are some sky islands that are shrouded in storms, right? Which I feel like, you need some sort of ability.
Not storms, but specifically very dark clouds, kind of like the Tiflo ruins.
Yep. So we're gonna need something to like wash that away. So that kind of gives like the idea of unlocking either ability or some sort of linearity.
Did you not see the leaked advertising material?
I did.
When he attaches the light flower to an arrow and shoots a tree?
I did. But we can't talk.
Obviously, how you do that.
I think that's how we do that underground. But we can't talk about that too much because I saw that Andre from Game Explained actually got the business for talking about it. And
really?
Yeah. So even without footage. Nintendo actually released the first part of that ad, but not the ad like the rest of the ad. So, like, we'll talk about that once it gets released, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
There may be something preventing you from even landing on that island.
Yeah, that's why I feel that. That's why I really feel it's a storm. Like, oh, if you try dropping it, like a thunderbolt, just like nah, and just like deflect you from that, and just
There's something Wind Waker-esque preventing you from landing on the island.
Yep, exactly. So, and then we're gonna need something to like either blow that away or have that given away. And I like a sense of progression that I feel might be in the game is that I think they're gonna take a page out of A Link Between Worlds, where every time you beat a dungeon, something happens to the world and you get a little piece of story to load along. But you can go to any dungeon you want in any order, right? And I feel like the more you complete dungeons, the more Ganondorf is going to try and bring islands down, because we've seen like in certain trailers there's like malice coming from the earth trying to attach itself to a skyline, so like to pull it down. It's like, oh, he's looking for something up there, Zelda, right? So I feel like the more time you take or the more dungeons you do, like pushes the story in that aspect. In that regard, another question I wanted to ask is that there's a popular theory going around thanks to the most recent trailer, the final trailer, in which they think there's going to be time travel involved with Tears of the Kingdom, to the point where there's going to be 2 different time periods in which Zelda is stuck in the past. But in some of the most recent footage that has been officially released by Nintendo, where it shows Zelda holding the Master Sword, because a lot of people think that like, oh, Zelda's going to the past to find a version of the Master Sword which isn't broken to give back to Link in the present. But then as we saw,
cheapen it.
Yeah, as we saw that in a different shot from that where she's holding the Master Sword is still busted in her arms. So I want to hear your thoughts on the idea or potential of Tears of the Kingdom possibly utilizing time travel.
Nah.
Please no.
Nah. It's just not going to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe underground is like while she falls through, she falls into a portal in time, but I think it's more likely that she just falls down to a place that is lost to time.
Okay.
I think if there does involve time travel, it will involve as much, if not less, time travel than Skyward Sword did.
I like that. I like that approach.
Which is just the crater.
Mm-hmm.
Just that one finite area in 2 different versions. That's it.
Exactly. Because like time travel, when it was utilized in other games, like Twilight Princess did the same thing. Time travel, just the Temple of Time. That's it. Right? And it worked for Ocarina of Time because the world was only so big. Right? And then the version of and then Majora's Mask's own version of time travel is very singular, because like what do you call Link is the point of singularity, where like, oh, he speeds up time and the time around him speeds up, but he always stays constant, right? But then in Ocarina of Time, it's 2 different time periods, but that works because the world was only so big, right? I feel like when people talk about time travel in Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, yo, this world is gigantic. It's even like so much more bigger than that of Breath of the Wild, and like way bigger than I honestly expected.
Well, hang on. You don't know that.
How big Tears of the Kingdom is? Or
we don't know how big it is.
I don't know. I don't know the extent, but it's way bigger than I perceived at first. That's what I'm saying, right? I have no idea.
Hebra and Akala and all those places are going to be navigatable. We don't know what's going on with the entire southwest of the map. That they were that the Zonai had all their shrines in and whatnot.
It's just going to be a giant hole at this point. Like the Great Deku Tree is the Great Deku Tree area, the Korok Forest. That like in one of the trailers, it looks like it's all mowed down. Like there's no more forest.
Conrad told me that, and I was trying to find that in the footage, and I couldn't.
I got a screen. It's a bit blurry, but the thing is, even from a distance, when you see that area, it's like, okay, the Great Deku Tree is supposed to be like, I'm supposed to see it from here, and I don't, right? So, like, I'm gonna pull that up.
Did you even see the Great Deku Tree in Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, like that's like when I first
from afar.
When I first played Breath of the Wild, going off the trailers, when I first had the game in my hand when Nintendo sent it to me, I saw the Great Deku Tree in the distance in the first cutscene where where Calamity Ganon is waking up. I'm like, okay, that's where I need to go to get the Master Sword. So that's where I zoomed. I zoomed there, right? I went to Kakariko Village, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is where the what do you call them? The castle is. the Great Deku Tree. I can see its giant fucking leaves in the distance. I'm going there, and I got stopped by Zora. Like, okay, looks like I'm going to Zora's domain first. And after that, I went back there, and they're like, you need 13 hearts. And I'm like, awesome, right? But I was able to see it from a distance, right? In Tears of the Kingdom, you can't see that shit. And I'm like, damn, something happened. I'm like, hey, I wouldn't put it past Ganondorf. He killed the Great Deku Tree before, so I mean, right?
Like one of Demise's Blood Moon things was, dropping a big old meteor like Sephiroth on the Great Deku Tree.
I believe it. Like, imagine if Ganondorf breaks the Master Sword, and then he knows that going off of Breath of the Wild, Zelda was like, oh, you must rest here until your master returns, and then putting the Master Sword into the pedestal is what heals it while Link is healing it. And if Ganondorf knows that's how they could potentially fix the Master Sword, wouldn't you think he would want to blow that up? It's all strategy.
That's the reason that they turned to the Zonai.
Probably. Oh man, yeah. Because
because the Zonai know about the tears, and while she was looking through all of her studies, she read about these ancient people, and then while they were walking around Hyrule trying to, I don't know, fix bridges or something, that they just came across a structure. They finally went to the southwest. They're like, yo, what are all these lions about? I don't know. Let's go into this thing. And then stuff happens.
Yeah, like, I have no idea what any of those like lines are about. And we've seen them for like multiple trailers. But I honestly think that they are going to turn to the Zonai in a very big way when it comes to repairing the Master Sword. Because there was a promo in Japan that said that it says the Master Sword, and it shows the broken Master Sword. It's like the Master Sword forever changed or something like that, forever transformed. And I'm like, okay, listen. And going off the logo where it shows like that green blade design coming out from the Z, I'm like, I'm all here for the Master Sword getting like a cool, I would say, like revision revamp. And I'm like, I want to know what it does. I'm like, I have a little pin here of it, and it's like, it looks nice. But let's talk about that for a little bit.
Because obviously, the Master Sword, if it is damaged, it's not going to be reforged and imbued by the power of Hylia, or the goddess, who basically keeps powering up the goddess sword.
Right.
So now it's going to be some super tech Zonai sword, but plot twist, Zonai are actually the sky people, some shit like that.
Right. I find it so vindicating, and I'm so happy for Nintendo Black Crisis. Like, the fact that Zonai are gonna be so important in Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm all here for it, but I want to know how they're connected, like how they're ingrained into like Zelda lore when it comes to the Sheikah, possibly the connection to the aspect of courage, since they're found in the Faron region, and what can they do when it comes to constructing the Master Sword or reconstructing the Master Sword? Because from all we know from Skyward Sword, the goddess Hylia created it as the Goddess Blade originally, and then Link reforged it into the Master Sword using the Goddess Flames. That is some pretty powerful stuff. So how are the Zonai going to reconstruct it on a level like that's capable of keeping up with Ganondorf? Who, by the way, we're seeing at his strongest ever in Zelda. So I'm like, how? Look, the Zonai swirls in the background. How's that gonna help? I see it in the screen behind you. What secrets, huh? Do you know?
All those red plumes happening.
Oh yeah. Man, rest in peace to the rat.
So isn't the original lore in Skyward Sword that there was a great war on the surface, and Hylia saved some humans?
Yep, some, not all.
Not all. So obviously people were living on the surface because they had all those robots to do all those jobs for them and whatnot.
Right.
So maybe the Zonai are the leftover people that then went underground to avoid Demise for millennia, and that's the reason they look like super pale.
Right. And that would
maybe Hylia didn't just leave those 3 flames on the surface. Maybe she left other things for the remainder of the people there to find out a way to use together to beat Demise in case her one true soldier hero didn't work out.
Right.
Contingency plans, dog.
Yeah, no, I would believe so, because I mean, like, the whole, like, when Zelda was explaining Hylia's plan in Skyward Sword when she revealed herself, like, the whole way she was speaking was legit like a contingency plan. It was like, oh, this was the plan that she put into motion, right? And then I like how you put out the fact that, like, oh, what if they hid underground after the fact in order to continue to exist? And that makes a lot of sense, because the demons did rip up the land in order to get out. So they had an entrance in order to be safe once everything was over, or everything, you know, like, was said and done. And I believe so that, like, you know, there's something about the whole idea of the goddess Hylia from Skyward Sword using her power to cut up some land and create Skyloft in order to keep her people safe. I'm 100% certain that that same power, that same ability, that same strategy is utilized to bring the Sky Islands, or I keep calling it Sorashima because that's like the Japanese name, to the sky in Tears of the Kingdom. They're using that same power. And obviously it's not Hylia at this point. Who else could it be?
Maybe that was also part of the contingency plan inside of the Master Sword. If the Master Sword ever broke up, boop, islands go back up.
I believe that 100%. You know, there's some, the upheaval, as they're calling it in promotion. The upheaval needed some sort of trigger, right? And I really don't think it's Ganondorf causing that trigger. That it's a trigger in response to something that Ganondorf does, but it's not him doing the whole, like, islands back.
They're specifically saying upheaval.
Yeah, they're saying upheaval, so, which a lot of people are.
So it's obviously not islands coming down out of the sky barrier.
Yeah, it's like them rising out of the.
So that
air.
probably explains why there's so many giant grottos everywhere, because that's where land used to be.
Mm-hmm. And then, but at the same time, I do hope, like, the upheaval, I do hope it's a combination of both. I really do hope that it's like a bunch of islands come from the ground to go up, and some islands that were really, like, out of reach came down a little bit, because Link does jump from a very, very high point in the final trailer, so much so that you see, like, he's above all types of clouds. He's, like, seeing the curvature of the earth as he falls down, which, by the way, how is he surviving that? Because if you're gonna be that high, it's cold as fuck up there. Like,
I'm pretty sure that's like, okay, so the game has to have a tutorial, like every Zelda game, that has one small area that teaches you the basics of how things work.
Yeah.
We know from the official website that is going to take place on a sky island.
Yeah.
People have looked up the XYZ coordinates from the map, which I
are
believe
insane.
that the XYZ is probably just a dev mode thing. I'd be really surprised if that makes it in the final game.
No, I think it is the you know, longitude, latitude, and altitude, because I mean, like, there are parts in footage where underground it's like -400, and then just like, oh, this is how high you need, like, you go this high, this is where you're at. And of course, you know,
I looked up those coordinates in Breath of the Wild myself, and it's pretty much just right above Dueling Peak.
Yep. Man,
you could boot up the Breath of the Wild save editor, put in the exact coordinates of exactly where you want to be, and it's going to drop you right there.
That's crazy. And then I feel those coordinates are going to be imperative when it comes to either the community, like me and you, if we're playing. It's like, hey, where'd you find that awesome sword? It's bussin'. I found it at coordinates blank, blank, blank. And then, like, you can go there, and then you can give me coordinates where if you find something, then I can go there. And then imagine Nintendo takes a bit of an Animal Crossing approach where they put in, like, I don't know if they're gonna do it, I'm just spitballing here, chats, all right? I'm just saying, like, what if they do like an Animal Crossing approach where it's like, oh, we're putting free content in this game, find this special hat, and you can find it at these coordinates or near these coordinates, and then that's how people, like, you know, discover stuff like that. But I feel it's gonna be in the final build.
It's just to make placing things on the map easier?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 100%.
Where's the Dark Cave at? It's in the Zonai ruins in the southwest.
Yeah, the Typhla ruins, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which apparently...
No, Typhla ruins are in the top.
Yeah. Typhla ruins are up top near the the wastelands near...
That's where they go underground and they fight Ganon under there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, did you notice that the Typhloid ruins are no longer like shadowy?
Yeah, I did see that, but again, like things can change between promotional material.
100%. I learned that the hard way with Twilight Princess.
That may have literally just been like a rendering setting that they were using for dev mode
in order to get the camera out and look at, Link from behind.
Yeah.
But man. Oh, Stephen George, Demise's consciousness was obliterated. That's not true. They said, Impa and Phi both said that the residual consciousness of Demise was going to be decayed in the Master Sword over time, and that someone needed to watch over the blade in order for it to like go through. We have no idea.
Even if his consciousness was obliterated, the curse that he laid on the 3 members of the Triforce, once Demise's power is released, Ganondorf can just become Demise.
Yep. And also another thing to note that a lot of people are glossing over is that in Phi's official description of Demise, and when you compare it to the fact that, it's Demise's residual consciousness needs to decay over time, Demise is confirmed to be timeless, right? Demise,
he's a god.
Exactly. He is a being that time does not apply to. He conquered time itself, right? So the fact that, it's decayed over time, what do you mean by that? I don't think he can decay at all. Like, he's just there. Like, not he, but his consciousness, his residual, godliness is still within the Master Sword. I don't think that's gonna go away. And then Ganondorf and everyone else, not Ganondorf and everyone else, but Ganondorf knows it.
How about we just brand that to Demise's Fury?
Yep. Demise's Fury. I like that. It has a very nice Bowser's Fury type sense to it, and that game was amazing. But Demise's Fury, I hope that if Demise speaks through Ganondorf, listen, I'm all for Matt Mercer voicing Ganondorf, but I hope if Demise speaks through Ganondorf, that Demise has his own voice actor too. And I'm like, that would be keen. But in that
or
sense,
just Ganondorf, if it's Demise within Ganondorf and not a full transformation, then just Ganondorf, then just get the voice actor, throw some effects on it.
Yeah, put some bass in there.
But I was gonna say the coding.
Yeah. Oh man. But with that sense, with the whole application of the Zonai, because it's funny because we haven't even talked about the Zonai in depth this whole stream, and we're 50 minutes into it. That's crazy. So how are you feeling on the whole aspect of the Zonai? And then here's the thing that a lot of people have been talking about. A lot of people say it's a draconic like entity or it's a goat like entity. I'm tweening towards both, where it's it looks like a goat, it looks like a dragon, whatever. A lot of people think that's heavily connected, if not a true Zonai or something that could have been because Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom takes place eons ahead of Skyward Sword. And if we're going off the idea that humans that were left behind by Hylia went on to be Zonai, they could have start praising dragons and become draconic in their own aspects. I mean, they have 5 fingers and features that are very human-like, but whatever. The question I'm trying to pose is that how do you feel about Zonai being applied in Tears of the Kingdom? And do you think that dragon-like entity is a true Zonai? Loaded question, huh?
2 options. Both of them stem from the idea that they were the people who were left behind on Earth when Hylia lifted the people into the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how the dodo died?
Oh, yeah. They got hunted into into non-existence.
Right. Because they had moved to a landmass that had no predators.
Yep.
So they lost their fight or flight response.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe these are what humans used to look like, but then we no longer required all the dragon or reptilian-like elements that would make us look like that while living in the sky and not having to deal with that. So over the course of Hylia being boop, and then Link being all woo, between that, millennia passed and people's no longer dragon-looking.
Right.
The other thing is the people on Earth were human-like, but then they started living underground, so then they started needing to adapt to down there, and then evolution just has a way of moving forward like that. Maybe the people who lived on Earth we're a distant relative evolution-wise between the two different races, and through the concept of convergent evolution, the two are going to still evolve to have the same amount of integers, but evolve in different ways that are more apt for their current living situation, being in the sky or on the surface, being versus subterranean. Like, obviously, need to be able to see in the dark, dog. Stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then someone in the chat is saying that that's a very similar situation of what could be applied to the Oka from Twilight Princess, who like live in City in the Sky, which a lot of people are like, oh, is that connected to Skyloft? I don't know, but it was a terrible dungeon.
It was a terrible dungeon, and those people were nightmare fuel. We're gonna make chicken humans.
And let's make them balls.
The size of humans? No, they're gonna be the size of chickens. Yep. Okay, they're gonna have human heads. Yeah, but think of more Voldemort.
I was like, yeah, but in that sense, I do believe there's like a certain sense of evolution going on, especially within the Legend of Zelda. There are times where like evolution is, what's the word I'm looking for, pushed forward, where like, you know, a common like not common quote, but a famous quote from Ian McKellen in X-Men 1 is like, oh, sometimes God moves too slowly. Right, and that's why a lot of people think that the Zora rapidly evolved into the Rito from the time of Ocarina and time going into the Wind Waker, and that could still be applied there, especially with the Zonai being connected to the aspects of water dragons, dragons in general when it comes to the barbarian set of armor from the Faron region and whatnot, and the fact that a lot of people are attributing the Zonai to be connected to the aspect, the virtue of courage when it comes to the Triforce, and then how they represent courage is represented by a dragon in their architecture, with a boar being power and a owl being wisdom.
Well, there are many people within, you know, IRL biologists and that believe that evolution wasn't a gradual thing. That
it was a spike.
At certain points in history, one large mutation caused one particular part of the species to have an advantage over the other. Survival of the fittest, they win, they reproduce, these people get half of the gene, and then it just keeps moving on like that, instead of, you know, over 10 generations you get 1/1000th of that trait.
Right. And I believe that too, because I mean, I feel there's certain points of history where you would see like animals or any type of like living being in existence, and like, yo, how'd you get from this to that? That's kind of nutty, right? And
like, why is an armadillo a real thing, and a giraffe? Why is a giraffe a real thing but not a unicorn?
You know, unicorns exist as narwhals, if you want to count that.
Narwhals are mammals, right?
Yeah, narwhals. Narwhals are mammals.
Yeah. Mermaids are real. Yeah, they're manatees for really, really drunk sailors.
Oh yeah. So in the next aspect, like, I feel we covered a good portion of like it's funny, we covered a really good portion of material when it comes to applying the game's exploration, dungeon structure, story, all that good jazz. Let's talk about the gameplay for a little bit. All right,
bro. I am going to make so many fucking videos.
I'm ready.
The coolest shit to fuse together,
dude. I'm ready for you to make that fucking flow chart. I'm ready. I'm like, oh, as soon as I fuse, I'm like, yo, Zelda Universe and Austin, they're gonna have
I'm like, bro,
dang,
you're
doing that flow chart.
Be able to fly, but we don't have all the parts we need, so you're gonna need to put it on the back of your horse and carriage, and now we're gonna bring it up to the Hebra region, and now over here on this one in particular crate, you're gonna find the extra large battery. My biggest thing is, I hope there is some way to preserve them.
Recipes, like, I feel
yes, but like, okay, if I leave it via time or distance, what happens to it?
I feel if
does it despawn? Can I register it at Robbie? Does Robbie make like a fucking garage system that I can park these in?
Man, considering the amount of fusible combinations, I really hope that either the towers or the stables will allow you to either like a crate, like, you know, in any type of RPG, you dump stuff in a crate, like they kind of did that a little bit with Breath of the Wild with your house, where you could put things on the wall, right? Like just put a crate to like leave your favorite combinations or register combinations in like a recipe book. And then you go to certain shops and it's like, hey, you registered this. Would you like to get it again? Okay, since it required a diamond and a sword, it's going to cost this much because the materials are that expensive. Would you like to make it? Yes. Easy bake oven. Like, please.
I don't think we're going to get that.
No.
I think it's going to be what you currently have put together, you can register it. And then Robbie
just know how to make
has
it.
a teleporting garage system using the technology of the travel medallion that happens to be at all of the stables or something. And then you just pull things out of your garage.
Right. I just hope there is, like, here's the thing. I love Breath of the Wild.
I firmly believe that. So you saw that little sign that was in front of the material areas, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's just like a little sign to like give you a diagram on how you could put certain things together to overcome a very small local obstacle, but the very basics of it, then allowing your mind to explore from there. And also, this brings me back to something I wanted to say before, but you know how we talk.
Yep.
You were saying you're so happy for NBC because of the Zonai having such influence.
Yeah.
Let's not also negate the fact that we may have influence over this game.
Oh, yeah.
There are
100%. Yeah.
There are direct quotes talking about how Medi 333 made flying machines and now he put them in the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is the closest any person from Nintendo has ever come to acknowledging fan-created things being put into a future iteration of a Zelda game.
Man, like, honestly, I feel that the whole idea behind Ascend, because I mean, like, you can argue that the Ascend ability is like there to like expedite travel when it comes to like climbing things and not using stamina meter. But I mean, like, I'm pretty sure Nintendo has seen how speedrunners can get from point A to point B physically as Link by, you know, cheesing the stasis ability. And I feel that was like them looking at that and I'm like, hey, let's tweak that and just make that Ascend, you know, or whatnot. And the fact that these were, or even
I don't
Recall.
think we're going to be using Ascend that much.
Oh, no. I
think Ascend is going to be used
I'm
for
gonna butcher
short-range travel.
Yeah.
But I think all of the important Sky Islands going to have fast travel points.
Right.
To the point that you may need to use Ascend to get to an island for the first time. But once you register that fast travel point, you're going to be able to just zip there and you're not going to want to, you know, take your 20-second rock ride up there.
Imagine...
Or were you bringing up the Ascend at the simple fact of how would people abuse the stasis mechanics and then riding the rock?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And then also, like, imagine if there's like this big boss. Like, and we know that there's going to be big, like, mechanical bosses because I feel like this wouldn't work on something that's organic, right? Imagine this big, or like, mechanical boss or a boss made out of stone, and then you down it, but then the weak point is above it. You got to go under it and then use Ascend in order to get to the top of it. Like, you literally go through the boss and then, like, you see its weak point at the top and give it the business. But
maybe that's the stone talus that have the Bokoblin forts.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You know, I saw, like, you know, people was like, oh, we're going to have to fight with a fridge. I'm like, bro, I'm just going to go from behind and just, like, you know, sneak up on it and say, hey, what's up? But in that sense...
But also, how about we just make a giant tank and then drive it at it?
Yeah, no, just no weapons, no nothing. Just you take a bunch of bombs, you stick the bombs to it, and just like ram it. Just like,
bro, what were the little Rock'em Sock'em robot arms he put on those rocks?
Those are little, like,
what were those?
I don't know. I think they were little lightning rods that, like, just like, you know, tweak around. Bro, this game is gonna be nutty. Oh, I can't wait for nuts and bolts. But you know, we went off a huge tangent when talking about the gameplay. But now, like, going back to that, dialing back, what excites you most when it comes to, like, the whole fusion mechanic or the Ultrahand mechanic, the whole building aspect? Like, what excites you the most, building weapons or building monstrosities?
I am curious about a few things when it comes to fusing weapons, because through official and non-official stuff, we've seen some things put together but something that we've never seen is like, well, actually, something I was concerned about, but then is sort of alleviated in the most recent trailer is like, okay, so we got these sticks that we could put rocks on it. Are there still Lionel swords? Like, obviously, the Lionels have the horns, and yes, that's, you know, the material part.
Yo, one of them look like a katana, and I'm like,
but then we saw the Royal Claymore.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, so what happens if I put the Royal Claymore on a spear? Do I have the power of the Royal Claymore with the speed of a spear?
Yo, like a Zampatao?
I don't know that word.
It's like a giant Japanese spear where like basically the head of the spear is a sword, right? So like
this is the sword. It's a massive two-handed claymore.
Yeah, I'm like, oh well, I actually haven't thought about that.
So how is the weapon-on-weapon system going to work? Because so far the only example that we saw was a pitchfork on a long stick.
Yep. And from screenshots, we've seen like blades, like to be fair, droppable blades from like the top of Zonai constructs or whatever being mapped over what do you call it? Other blade handles. Like it was like a soldier broadsword handle, but then there was a Zonai construct horn as the blade. So like there's obviously the idea of replacing the point of damage with these weapons, but that sounds so cool. Like just taking the blade.
I also want to know. Yeah. I want to know the coding, and I want to know the math. I want to know if I put this on this versus the exact same thing but opposite. If I fuse weapon A to weapon B or weapon B to weapon A, is it going to be the exact same thing? How does the durability system work? Is it multiplied by what I put on there? Is it only going to be the second thing? When the weapon breaks, what breaks? This part, both parts. If I decide to unfuse them together, which statistics remain? Which durability remains? So if I fuse a giant powerful weapon to a shitty handle and then it's about to break and then I unfuse them and then I put the powerful weapon on the handle, does that have a certain durability meter? Or now if I use this as a bait for this weapon, what's that durability meter? That's what I mean, like,
you know what's my answer to that?
Pokemon content, I want to know the fucking math, dude.
You know what's my answer to that? It sounds like you're gonna have a really good time. That's what it sounds like. Like you specifically. Woo.
Bro, I already have 6 Google Sheets ready. One of them lists every single material that we have had available in Breath of the Wild and every material that we have seen so far in Tears of the Kingdom, and what I think those different things are going to be doing while attached to different things. Like we saw the amber be a fire arrow. We were led to believe that adding choo-choo jelly is going to be a fire arrow. And I was talking to Zeltic about this, or Conrad or someone. Okay, is the amber a better fire arrow? Is it a larger AoE? Is it a larger explosion? Is it more direct damage? Well, it's probably more direct damage because we always see the plus one
it's a precious material,
plus one bow icon. What about the AoE? What's a bomb? Are there bombs? We don't know if there's bombs.
No, they can't take away my bomb arrows. But I really think that bombs. I think the ores are going to be a stronger arrow type than choo-choo jellies. Choo-choo jellies is just going to have a better AoE. But the
okay, what about a fire key swing?
I don't know.
Is that going to be now a fire homing arrow?
Man,
is a regular key swing going to be a better homing arrow with more damage than a Keese eyeball? Is it going to work on a tier system like that? In the same way that those different materials are required to upgrade different pieces of armor?
Yo, this is going to be the best game ever. Like, holy shit. Oh my god.
This is the stuff I'm covering.
Nah, I'm ready for that.
Shrine Hunters gets delayed. We're doing math first, dog.
Nah, I feel that 100%. And that's one thing I always wanted to like think about when it came to like, you know, the number system of what we saw with the Aonuma gameplay, because like, you know, I feel that not only will the type of the drop when it comes to the horns of the soldier construct or whatever, oh my god,
oh, there you go,
bro, what is all this?
This is me telling you the thing that I was already doing.
That's crazy.
And then I also put the in-game name of the specific type of effect that's going to be having. I've come up with my own value system based on its current price for sellable materials and everything else in-game.
Oh my god!
If it's been confirmed to be returning, and then what we already know that it's going to be doing, Oh, I think this is a little blurry on stream. I don't know if you guys can see it, but
No,
just take my word.
They can
There's
see
a
it.
lot
They
of
can
stuff
see
here.
enough. Yeah, no, they
All
can gather enough.
150 returning items, and then the 6 new items brought into the game.
Never doubt this man's process ever again. I will ban you on site if you ever doubt this man. But what I wanted to ask is that, like, obviously, like, you brought this up this point where it's like, oh, soldier broadsword base mixed with a specific horn. Will the base increase its power, or will the base's power will the base increase its power value or durability value, or both, or whatnot? Like, is it better to like find a really nice base? Like, let's take a Royal Guard sword base, right? That base is known, like, that sword is known for breaking like really relatively easily, but it has a really high power. Will that carry over as a base to a blade that is known to be high durable? What's the combination of like durability values and stuff like that? And I'm like, and that's not going on to that. That's like, I'm only applying
like,
to what we
can't
know.
wait for Austin to do that math.
Yeah, like, man, that's only applying from what I know from Breath of the Wild's own values and stuff. And then like we have a plethora of an unknown amount of weaponry, new weaponry in Tears of the Kingdom. That's
boy's ready.
That's
back to being a Zelda tuber. One that's not going to make a simple 12-episode walkthrough.
Oh man, yeah, bro. Tears of the Kingdom in 12 episodes. That's funny, man.
I made 136 videos on Breath of the Wild.
That's amazing. Oh my god. But to wrap up the stream, because we actually went a little over time, but that's fine, right? I want to know terms of gameplay, terms of story, because I saw you just gush.
I don't
over
have
the values.
anything to do. If you got something to do, we could wrap it up. If not,
actually, no. All right, then we chill.
I could just keep going.
All right, no, because I didn't want to take up too much of your time. All right, we're going.
You know what? You know what? Let me make another tea.
Yeah, I got
let's tack another hour on.
Yeah, all right, let's get it. Oh boy.
Chat for a minute.
Yeah. So hello guys, my name is HMK and I like warm hugs. King Frost, do you think we'll have the fuse and repair? Do you think we can have a fuse and repair mechanic? Well, the fuse, like from right where we got IGL, the fuse is the repair mechanic, in which I want to assume from his words that when you fuse them together, the durability gets refreshed in terms of like something that's about to break or something that's applied to it, right? Oh shit! And there's not like, bro, I need to talk to this to Austin as well. This is when he comes back. So like that's the fuse thing. I'm building a flying house in Tears of the Kingdom. That sounds like a lot of material, but hey, Godspeed, right? Holy shit. Where's the hook shot? Man, we're talking about the possibilities of an endless stream of weaponries, imagination, and creations. And you're wondering where the hook shot is? Ha! Nah. Oh boy. Longest fifth dimension, let's go. Well, Antonia, no. I've had really long fifth dimensions, and there has been one that has been incredibly long. And I don't think we'll ever beat that one. Right? So yeah. Then going off of Zelda for a little bit. You're planning on playing Future Connected before Zelda. I have to. Because if I don't, then I will never, like, if I don't play Future Connected, Future Redeemed. If I don't play Future Redeemed before Tears of the Kingdom comes out, I'm never gonna touch it. I have to, right? What enemies do you want to see added or returned into the Tears of the Kingdom? Pose, Redeads is implied, right? Pose, Dark Nuts, Skullchillas, even though I fucking hate spiders. And then, like, other than that, from what we've seen, I'm honestly Gyptos, I guess. I'm honestly, guys, from what we saw already, I'm not much for want, at this point. Just give me some creepy ass enemies. Just give me some creepies. Like, Pose, nasty shit. Right? I love you, HMK. I love you too, random assistant. Oh, what's up, Lip? What's good? Oh boy. This man is out here picking the leaves that he needs in order to brew the tea, and then he's warming the water using a fire that he built in the background. This is a great time for questions, guys. This is a great time for questions before I get back to this, man. All right. What timeline do you think this game is gonna fit into? I've been child timeline since day one. And I'm still child timeline. But here's the thing, right? I feel Nintendo's gonna do some weird hanky-panky arbitrary shit where they just gonna acknowledge the unified timeline and that's it. Right? They're not gonna acknowledge the split for some weird reason. And yeah, I just have I have that's the idea I have, right? Oh boy. Fish sword or grasshopper spear? Man, fish sword. You know, I'm just like, yo. Have you not seen Ed, Ed, and Eddy? Choose your weapon. Like fish sword, what? Rolf's honors has been redeemed. Like, oh god. Leaf and boomerang, Gale boomerang. Jared Brown, I actually had an idea for that. You take a boomerang and you attach a fire chuchu jelly to it. Boomerang. As it's going to the enemy. Bah! The fucking the chuchu jelly detonates and the boomerang comes back all just fine. Just like that. Big bang meteorang. Challenge showdown. Yeah. What about ancient weapons? You know, something tells me that in this game, when it comes to Sheikah technology and Sheikah weapons and ancient weapons, I really think it's going to be a bit on the MIA side. I mean, if they come back, cool. If not, I feel they're going to be overall replaced with Zonai technology instead, right? You know, you trade that blue for some nice-ass green. I don't know. But we have to wait and see. Oh, boy. Hey, Dark King Crimson was good. Huge fan, HMK. Love your videos, reactions to Kingdom Hearts Xenoblade. If Demise comes back, do you think we could have a mention of Gurham returning in Tears of the Kingdom or maybe working for Ganon? No, like, if Demise is coming back, being channeled through Ganondorf, I need to see that sword again. Gurham, please. Please. Man. Music Guitar Man, do you think Zonai charges are going to be bombs? They could be. I mean, they're at the very least, they're power sources, right? Can they, like, are they gonna be bombs? I mean, they could be. Yo, man, Austin out here, like, Austin out here tending to the garden. Yo, you back? Hey, I was saying, like, yo, you tended to the garden, picking the leaves, like heating up the fire using a fireplace, like heating up the water using a fireplace. But now that you're back, here's something that I remember before that I want to ask you. Yo, all these values when it comes to fusing weapons is going off of just fusing weapons. Like, I can't imagine like understanding and determining the value of things like boulders and tree trunks. Because that also has to be incorporated, right?
I think those are just going to be classified as melee weapons.
You think so? And they're going to have like a broad sense of values across the board? Like, okay, like stone is going to have its own value across the board, and then like wood is going to have its own value across the board. You think it's something like that, or?
We may see something similar to how like sledgehammers and the Stonebreaker were more effective on specific enemies like the Stone Talus. And had higher durability. So in my thought process, things like boulders are going to have higher durability and be more effective to things that, you know, are weaker than rock.
Right.
Mainly scissors.
Oh my goodness. But something I want to ask, this was posed as like the final part of the stream, but I mean we can just go off of something else after this. What is the most exciting thing for you, going off everything we know when it comes to Tears of the Kingdom? Like I said, like, what's your favorite part of the trailer? But like, now that we have all this information, the gameplay demonstration, like, all the screenshots, all of the bits from the footage and whatnot, Fuse, Ultrahand, the gameplay, Gandalf returning. What's the most exciting thing for you going into Tears of the Kingdom when, Breath of the Wild has like ruled Zelda for like the past 6 years?
I mean, that's pretty obvious. It's using my Nintendo Switch and plugging into a winch via USB-C to then go up. What was that? That wasn't a rune.
Nope.
That wasn't something related to his hand. What's my Nintendo Switch gonna do?
That's gonna be something.
You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if the chat is going up.
Inside of the most recent trailer, that was like a 16 frame moment that we had. That was confirmation of the Sheikah Slate returning in the game.
Yep, but under a new design. Because
instead of it looking like an iPad, it looks like a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, because iPad, but I feel that the Sheikah Slate originally,
or more like a Wii U gamepad.
The gamepad, yeah, the Wii U gamepad, which is funny considering that, like, bro, they really built this game for the Wii U.
During it, yeah.
Yeah, they really built this game for the Wii U, but then like the Switch is where it shined the brightest. And I feel like that's like, the Sheikah Slate, they're redesigning it for that. But in that sense, let's talk about the Sheikah Slate for a little bit, now that you brought that up.
Oh, hang on. Before we talk about that,
go ahead.
Fusing. We saw the large cardboard box monster.
Yeah.
Right? Or the large wooden crate monster.
Yeah, cubics.
Yeah, and it seemed as though it had Zonai energy keeping it together. Are we going to be able to fuse things and give it sentience?
I hope so, because when I first saw that, I was saying, like, listen, it looks like a type of enemy that you can keep breaking boxes off of it, right? So I'm gonna like make it drop a bunch of boxes, then I'm gonna take those boxes, fuse them myself, and make my own cubics, and then fight the remaining cubics with my cubics, and then see who comes out on top. That's what I'm trying to do.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots confirmed.
Hell yeah. Right? But I feel that sentience may be a thing if we fuse a specific item to that, because within that,
are you now talking about the very specific glowing wooden crates?
Yes,
there was the very specific gear-looking things on them.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think provides that enemy sentience. And if we get a hold of that, then we could use it for our own like means.
So what you're saying is you feel as though that may provide some sort of either engine or AI.
Yeah, not an engine, AI, because going off of that, like, people were like, oh, AI, you think this is gonna fight alongside you? I'm like, bro, in the final trailer, we saw that party members is heavily insinuated, right?
Bro,
so I mean,
we already had that mechanic exist day one with Wolflink.
Exactly, right? So why can't I build my own buddy? I will take what
my own buddy, bring him in a battle with me.
Yeah, like, I will take what Nintendo started. Like in Twilight Princess, the ancient rod walked so my cubics can run in Tears of the Kingdom, right? Instead of just me controlling it with some stupid staff, I just like, okay, life, that's what I feel is gonna be a thing. But of course, like, there's gonna be a limit to that. I really think it's gonna be like a lot of Zonai things.
Build limit? Is there a weight limit when it comes to building flying machines?
I don't think there's a weight limit.
Things can we attach to it? Does every single item have a weight value? And then does every sort of fan have its own weight value that it can counteract? And then are there ways to upgrade the batteries? Are there just better batteries somewhere? Do we need the special glowing crates?
Right. I think when it comes to the values of the limit of Ultrahand abilities in terms of creating things that can move, I feel the only limit is going to be everything against the battery limit, where depending on the amount of things that are utilize the battery against how heavy the thing is inherently is going to sap a lot more battery. And I feel that, to increase the battery, I was actually talking about this to Conrad not so long ago, where I feel there are areas within, like, okay, so like, let's say an area around a specific point in the surface or in the Sky Islands, there's an area that you can strike or activate where in this specific big area, like in Breath of the Wild, where you activate Sheikah Tower and it surveys the map around you, let's say there's an area that you can strike and activate where everything within the area has higher battery life. And then the more you...
So basically like a natural supercharger.
Yeah. And that everything within the area has a higher battery life, allows you to like use things more, faster, farther, all that good jazz. And that in itself, pushes exploration. It's like, hey, you want your little, Lego to like go faster or go more, then explore. Go look for that power charge that's going to allow it to like, last longer. But I feel that
Are you ready for my fun idea?
All right, go ahead.
There is a mechanic that's used for only one specific thing in Breath of the Wild. And that's dropping a monster part. And that's for the Octorok balloon. What if you can collect Guardian cores or Zonai cores or whatever they're going to be called?
Zonai charges.
Take that and attach it to a battery, and now it's a more powerful one.
I would love that. I would love that 100% because it gives more value to these things that drop. There have been times in Breath of the Wild where I have so much stuff in my pocket. I'm like, what can I do with this? Right? I already got all my gear. Everything is leveled up to max. Like, what am I going to do with this? I would love to use the Ultrahand or tape to tape some Zonai charges to a battery. It's like, hey, yo, look at all this life. Look at all this battery charge I got.
Yo, I want that Zonai duct tape, dog.
Yep. Oh man. But I feel that's going to be a very important focal point in terms of how long a creation can last. And I think it's all weight based. And it's like it's weight against battery based. Like, how much battery you put onto it. And then even then, we've seen the idea of the moving cart where it has this giant generator looking thing in the back, which I feel like, if you tape it to that increases its battery life like 10-fold, 100-fold. We don't know, right? So
actually, I don't remember seeing a battery source on. We're talking about the scene where it goes against the Stone Talus camp.
Not that. The scene where in the second trail.
Riding in the field.
Yeah, that. There was a big green cylinder behind him, and I feel that's a big battery charge, right? And then you find that, and then that begs the question about finding those type of things. Am I gonna need to find it and then ultra hand it all the way to my creation, or can I pocket it? That looks like something that you can't really pocket, right? And
wow, if only there was multiple locations all over the world that you can go and, I don't know, sort of park your car in your little garage. Whoa,
that please, man, please. And then that goes without saying, of something that, by the way, Nintendo's promotion for this game is so weird and wild. We still have no idea what that thing on Link's hip does. That replaces the
vials?
Slate. Yeah, the vials.
We've never seen any number other than 4, right?
No. And then, because in previous trailers, as early as the E3 2016 trailer for Breath of the Wild, we had an idea, it zoomed in the Sheikah Slate. It's the Sheikah Slate does all these powers. It does that, it does that. I'm like, okay, we know what it does, right? And then in the demo, we're like, okay, we know what it does. The demo came in when it comes to Aoji Aonuma playing the game, and we still have no idea what that thing does, right? Is it a type of power source to show how much you can fuse, how far you can ascend, how much you can rewind when using your Zonai arm? What is it? We have no idea, So that's another mystery with Tears of the Kingdom, which, by the way, comes out in 20 days.
That we have to fuse a cart together to help out villagers.
Oh yeah, on the horse. All right, let's talk about that. There you go. I love that you brought that up. Not only the whole idea of fusion, but the idea of helping society in Tears of the Kingdom. I feel there's going to be a boatload of missions. I think there might be a mission board in Tears of the Kingdom where we have to help relocate travelers safely from Kakariko Village to Hateno Village, from Hateno Village to Loreline Village, from Loreline Village to Terrytown, or something like that, right?
And then once you do it, it establishes a trade route between those two, and now you have the mushroom vendor that appears in Hateno.
Exactly. And then that alongside with the fact that there seems to be buildable areas that we constantly pass by, and there was a bit of a, I say war, but there was a battle going on in Ash Swamp, where a bunch of villagers were fighting, like fending off enemies. And then we saw the shot where it's like, oh, remember, you're not alone.
Right outside of Fort Hateno?
Yeah, right outside of Fort Hateno in Ash Swamp. Yeah. And then in the scene where I feel it's Riju saying, it's like, remember, you're not alone. And it shows Link with a bunch of homies and a Goron and a Gerudo in the background, and then Mr. Buckethead ready to take on the world. I'm like, yo, so like, is Link like going to help these townsfolk? Is he going to act as a general to specific militia in order to repel monsters? There's stuff going on. This world is so much more alive than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was it was a society that survived, yet is still on the brink of collapse. But now in Tears of the Kingdom, we're coming back from the collapse, where it's like, oh, we have to help people get from point A to point B. We possibly have to build up shops and build up houses. We have to possibly.
Maybe that's the reason we saw the abandoned Clock Town, or not Clock Town, Castle Town.
Mm-hmm.
A little bizarre area.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the last 3 minutes that we've just talked about are all stemming from the core gameplay of Breath of the Wild, but have been expanded on. We had the concept of Tarry Town that was one fixed linear quest line, but now we may have multiple quests to develop different areas. We've had the different random NPCs, that were being jumped by enemies. Maybe those interactions have now escalated.
Exactly.
Maybe the side quests that felt unfulfilling now have true purpose to them.
Exactly. Like I love Breath of the Wild, but right now everything that Tears of the Kingdom is showing off and insinuating is just showing that this was the blueprint, right? Tears of the Kingdom is taking all of those ideas and all of those complaints of like, man, I wish this was taken to this level, or I wish this did that. It's just going into an insane amount of, I would say, like depth, robustness, all that good jazz, where oh man, can you imagine? Good.
Also, how's Kilton been?
Yo, you want to know something? I've been saying this.
Kilton integrated as a member of society yet?
No. I've been saying this for a long. I honestly think Kilton's gonna be a bad guy in Tears of the Kingdom.
No.
Yes. He's gonna see Ganondorf.
Shut your dirty mouth.
No. He's gonna see Ganondorf rise up.
Talk about my boy that way.
He's gonna see Ganondorf rise up and produce all these sick-looking monsters, and he's like, you know what? I'm defecting. Ganondorf is the ultimate monster.
No.
Yes. I think Kilton's defecting. I think
he's back and he's better than ever, and he's gonna take your unwanted materials and give you dope shit for him.
Okay, let's meet in the middle. What if Kilton is a type of tweener where he's like, he doesn't align with Hyrule,
You're saying he's a double dealing arms dealer?
Not double dealing arms dealer, a double dealing.
That's meeting in the middle.
Yeah, no. It's double dealing, but not an arms dealer. A double dealing Colosseum runner, where he gets all these like big ass enemies. Is like, oh, Link, you have returned. Is like, okay, today's fight is going to be this. Let's see what you've got, right? And then you fight the enemy for like the.
Bro, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
The Colosseum is right there, Austin. He's gonna take it over.
No, don't do that to me. Don't give me hope, because that sort of format in games is one of my favorite things. Like when you're the pro wrestler in Paper Mario Thousand Year Door.
Oh,
that has to be like one of my favorite parts of that entire game.
Rock Heart.
Yep.
Let's go, brother. Oh man, but no, please, like. Now that I'm saying it, I'm like, man, I really hope that the Colosseum is right
it's too good of an
there.
idea. It's too good.
It's right there, man. And
okay,
so... And imagine, like, you can only fight...
love to make these random segues in the middle of fun, heated discussions.
I'm going to
do one now.
Yeah, go for it.
So, we've already been told from the Nintendo website and via a tweet that scanning various Zelda-based amiibos is going to give you sale clause.
Yep.
My response is that it though?
I don't think it is, and I hope it's not. No,
I don't think it is either, because like we had the Fierce Deity outfit. We had, I mean, listen, I don't need 7 of the Wild, of the Wind, of the Twilight sets that do the exact same thing. Like,
but
no, get rid of those. But like the Bagoron sword, the Dark Link outfit.
Those are cool. And oh, he's reaching.
Oh, we're not going to talk about anything that we may or may not have seen, but like, what exactly does that do?
That's why I think the costumes are coming back. Anyways, in the website, it stated that besides the sailcloth, they said weapons. That they're dropping weapons. And then like when you scan an amiibo back in Breath of the Wild, like it did drop weapons, but I mean you were always trying to roll for the fierce deity.
It was a lottery, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that is too much of a good thing to just like take away. Especially considering that all these amiibos are coming out. And then Nintendo is obviously doing reissues right now. Right? So I mean, like that would burn me a lot if going off what you said, if they take away the costumes, fine, as long as they keep the weapons.
We don't need no. We don't need all of the costumes. Right. We don't need all of the exact same. Here's a tunic and shorts.
Yeah.
Like just give us one.
What? So just
give us a powered down version of the wild tunic. That takes like super late game materials to actually make it powerful.
You know what's something about that? I never liked that tunic.
Same. I never used it.
The hat. I only use the hat. Because that's like the only hat that keeps his hairstyle. Because like every other hat just like changes up the hairstyle to something.
I mean, in the post game, I think I was just running around in full ancient Guardian armor with the 4 heads.
Nice.
Which ancient beast heads, because those gave you like swim up and stuff.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite head?
Contrary to my favorite champion, I think it was the Va Meadow head.
Really? Oh.
Wait, okay. No. What's the elephant's name?
That's Varuta.
Varuta. That was my favorite head.
Oh, okay. Oh,
my favorite champion, obviously, Urbosa.
Nice. Yeah, I don't like Va Naboris's head. My favorite head out of that, and Urbosa is my favorite champion. My favorite head was the Varadunia's head, the lizard one. I like that one. I think it looks super cool. But
I think it looked too much like regular armor for me.
When you with that specific head.
Yeah, it looked too much like a soldier's helmet.
Yeah, that's what I wanted because all those other helmets were just too wild, man.
Yeah, I like it wild.
Breath of the Wild.
That helmet cost me $17.
Wow, jeez. But with that being said, speaking on amiibos and like amiibo material and whatnot, they did confirm that the Wolf Link amiibo is compatible with Tears of the Kingdom. Do you think it's gonna summon Wolf Link again?
I mean, they have the format in place for companions. They have the format in place for Wolf Link. It didn't drastically alter your gameplay experience at all. Why not?
Right. Just
but also the Ciel Claws are dope.
Oh, super dope. Which one's your favorite so far? Because I know, like, the Majora's Mask one.
Officially, obviously, the Majora one that has the glowing eyes.
Yeah, in the dark, I'm like, that's kind of hard to beat. I mean, the black one that's based on the Hylian hood, that one looked really cool. But I mean, that Majora's Mask one is hard to beat.
On my sheet for that, I'm calling that the Traveler's Sale.
Yeah, Traveler's Sale. Nice. There's so going off that Traveler's Sale, there was a Champions sale, and there was a Sailcloth sale. So like Hylia sale, I don't know, like Sailcloth.
Goddess sale.
Goddess sale. Yeah, that's a good one. And then Majora's Sale.
Or the Skyloft. Oh, I wrote Skyloft Sale.
That's a good one. But going off amiibos and possible integration, you know what's incredibly funny? Because I know that
unofficially the Goron sale's the dopest.
That one looks super cool.
It's so cool.
Yep. But in that idea, it's funny how this game is coming out in like 3 weeks, but they haven't talked about DLC. Because I know that Tears of the Kingdom is going to get a DLC.
They don't need to talk about DLC. Okay. Conrad was here for a week, and all he did was bitch about how they're not selling this game. Really did. And we talked about audio engineering and stuff, and
Yeah.
I basically took Zeltic's way of doing audio stuff, which takes him about 40 minutes, and I've condensed it down to 80 seconds.
Of course you would, because you're the wizard at that.
If you want help with the audio stuff, I got you.
I know.
And then
I know.
also, we got him a blue mouse, which he can't buy in his country.
Oh, dang. What? That's crazy.
Yeah, blue products just aren't available there, or like anywhere in that. Like the closest place you could go is Germany.
That's so odd.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
what are we talking about?
How they he was complaining that they weren't
sales.
Yeah.
Okay.
They weren't what do you call it?
Fan base A.
Yeah.
Are people that know that they want to buy this game from the moment it was announced. Fan base B are the people that are on the fence about it.
Mm-hmm.
And fan base C are the people who did not play Breath of the Wild. This game is not for that last group yet. If it is for that group, then no amount of promotional material is going to get them to convert. The stuff that will get them to convert is the content that everyone will make about the game
After
until
the fact.
they can get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason this is not a holiday release.
Yep.
If it was a holiday release like Pokemon or Mario, it's you know what it is already. It doesn't take that much explanation.
Yeah.
You're going to buy it for yourself or a younger individual.
Mm-hmm.
But that middle group, the people who are the naysayers, the people who are skeptical, this is $70 DLC.
But
Those people are going to be, I believe, as though highly influenced by the videos that come out in the first month. And then they're going to buy the game for summer 2 weeks after launch. But then there's also the people who are negging on it more. And that last trailer, that was the reason I made my analysis video. I'm like, there is too much happening here for you to understand it while watching it at even 25% speed.
Yep, I agree.
I will spend 2 minutes talking about 8 frames. And the reason that you need to know about those 8 frames is because it took them years to come up with that exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that will spark joy. I remember reading once that, God, I forgot who it was. I think it was like Miyamoto and someone else. And they were talking about during the development of Ocarina of Time. He was like, I made it so that if you go to this sign and if you chop it this way, it will cut that way. And if you chop it this way, it will cut that way.
Mm.
And he's like, I think it was Miyamoto asking Ayanuma.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. He's like, why did you do that? And he's like, because it's fun.
Yeah.
And ever since then, there have been so many things in Zelda games that just have existed because they're fun. Because they're fun little BS things. They're not even really Easter eggs. They're just little nooks and crannies that, you know, I can imagine them on the team there, like when it's a real passion project. Like the Zelda team are passion people. They don't have a timeline. They get to do whatever they want to put out and tell the story that they want to. Like, oh, I spent 2 weeks making that cut that way. And he's like, good job.
It's like, yo,
know what I mean?
Yeah, like Ocarina of Time revolutionized 3D gaming by allowing everything to be rendered in front of you and then nothing rendered behind you. That's such great stuff. And then like, oh, but you could also cut these signs in specific directions of your sword swing. It's like, huh? It's like, yeah, it's cool. And I'm not gonna lie,
that's something that the viewer will actually experience.
Yeah. Because like I when I was young and I sure as hell did, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I did sink a lot of hours into just like, you know, chopping up the sign as much as I could in like small pieces. Like, how many times can I chop this before the sign's completely gone? So I definitely been there. Yep. Mm-hmm. I was constantly trying to beat it, and I'm like, curse you. But
when does this game launch? In exactly 3 weeks.
Yep. 3 weeks. That's insane. I cannot wait. It's gonna be one of the best games ever. And here's the thing that I want to talk with you, bring this up to you. I brought this up in multiple streams and multiple podcasts I've been since the reveal of the final trailer, which, by the way, was amazing. I really do think, because I like how you brought up Group A, Group B, Group C in terms of the games being pushed towards marketing, sales, all that stuff. But then when it comes to specific grouping, not when it comes to sales, but when it comes to the identity of Tears of the Kingdom, I feel that Tears of the Kingdom is going to do something that's going to be truly insane in terms of Zelda and in terms of gaming as a whole. Where if you're a fan of Breath of the Wild, you'll love Tears of the Kingdom. If you weren't a fan of Breath of the Wild, people was like, oh, the world was empty. I didn't like the deviations from the Zelda formula. I didn't like this, blah, blah, blah. If you weren't a fan of all this... If you didn't
like Breath of the Wild, you're not going to like Tears of the Kingdom.
No, I think they will. I think they will, because Tears of the Kingdom is going to answer a lot of complaints of people that liked Breath of the Wild and people that didn't like Breath of the Wild in terms of, let's say, traditional dungeons, in terms of more of a focus on combat, and weapon repair system. It's not truly weapon repair, but it does fix an issue when it comes to weapon breaking and whatnot.
Bro, there was nothing wrong with that system.
There wasn't. I 100%
nothing wrong with it. It forced you to try out new stuff.
Thank you. But Austin, people still complained about it. All right.
Because guess what? Over the last 2-3 years or so, I have stints that for a few months I just get so sucked into Fallout 76, which is a game that has a quality of weapon system, and then there's a repair system. And honestly, it does nothing other than just force me to constantly repair this thing, and it becomes a nuisance. I'm not going to just randomly change to different weapons because the repair system is in place. But if the repair system didn't exist, then I would think of all of the weapons as more disposable.
Right.
And then in classic RPG format, you never use your items unless you need to. Next thing you know, you beat the game and never used a single elixir.
Yeah. Unless we got those.
What's in your inventory right now? I just use tents.
It's just potions. Are you gonna use your high potions? Nah. Ethers? Nah. I have no reason to.
How many full restores do you have? All of them, because I never use them.
Right. And it's funny, I always get the ideas. I was like, bro, all right, I'm saving it. I'm gonna need it for a rainy day. Final boss being. All right, so the rainy day never came. Cool. Now I'm sitting on 30 Phoenix Downs. Awesome. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But in that sense, with Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like it's gonna answer 3 specific questions. Being a great sequel to Breath of the Wild in terms of people who like Breath of the Wild, being a game that answers the complaints of Breath of the Wild in a sequel to Tears of the Kingdom. Hey, where was Ganondorf? Weapon breaking, traditional dungeons. The world doesn't seem that populated or expansive or, alive or whatever. And then third, which a lot of people aren't talking about, is that despite 1 and 2, Tears of the Kingdom is still going to establish its own identity beyond that of Breath of the Wild, right? And it's so much so, this is Zelda 20. I really feel like Breath of the Wild, I love the game, but it still had issues. I feel when I play Tears of the Kingdom, I'm not going to have issues, and I feel that this game is going to be the ultimate Zelda. And people are like, oh man, $70 DLC. I'm like, yo, to me right now, unless they give me a reason to doubt, this is looking like the ultimate Zelda to me.
I mean, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like the gameplay loop, you're not going to keep playing the game.
That's true. That's very much true.
Because to the casual viewer out there, something you don't immediately realize is that every game has a gameplay loop. There is one series of things that needs to be done in order for this series of things to be done. That may go right back there, or there may be several steps, but nevertheless, it is a loop of things that always exists, and that is called the gameplay loop.
Yep.
In Breath of the Wild, it was go to a shrine, explore, that was the loop. And then there were 4 deviations for the 4 beasts that take an hour and a half each, and then at any time you could just say, okay, instead of that, I'm going to go to the final boss. So the loop was that. That's it.
No. You know what was my loop?
2 points.
It was my loop. My loop. Find a cliff, jump off it. That's my loop, man.
That was point A. Explore.
Yeah.
Go to shrine.
Nah, man, fuck
Explore,
shrines.
go to shrine. That was the loop.
I love shrines. But
now, if instead of 120 shrines, we have 60 mega shrines.
I'll be down for that.
Because let's be honest, some of the shrines were kind of lacking.
Some of them weren't even shrines. Yeah.
I mean, there were like 3 or 4 of them that after completing a more difficult shrine quest or side quest, you would then get access to a shrine, and it wasn't a blessing, and those were fun.
Yeah. Oh man, nah. Like some of my favorite shrines was like how intuitive of how they were like, hey, figure this out using your own abilities or strategy. But a lot of people wanted more shrines like the Trial of Power, where it's like straight up like a mini dungeon, where it's just like, oh, you got to just get to the end, and there's a lot of obstacles. Yeah. I feel like if they would just like focus on those 2 aspects, like very, very interesting puzzles that makes you think, because like they had some great puzzle design in some of the Sheikah shrines. Some of them were just like, okay, see, this is easy or it's super easy. Like either it's easy or I can cheese the hell out of it, right? And some of them were just blessings. But if they just focus on those, I'll be down for Zonai shrines, because I feel like that's what's going to be replacing Sheikah shrines. And then, go ahead.
Wait, hang on. I just thought of something.
Yeah.
So there were 6 different shrines.
All right.
7 if you're including blessing, but I'm not.
No, blessings don't count.
3 of them that you... 6 including the blessing. All right, blessings.
All right, 5.
Trial by combat.
Yeah.
Move the orbs. Use bombs. Use stasis. Use cryonis. Oh, sorry, that's the last one. Use the magnet one.
Yeah.
Those were all of the different shrines.
But I feel there was another shrine. Another type was like just get to the end, because there were some shrines that utilize all of those. Like trial by combat. All the abilities. Like you have to get to the end. Find your way to the end. Like.
Yeah, but
find the cheese.
If the ones that require runes, they'll normally lean more one than the others.
Right. Okay.
But then once you, like, if you're in the one that just requires stasis, you realize that one of the boulders is also metal. So then you could just use that, and then you clean up, 6 boulders instead of stasising around them.
Right.
And if you're in the one that requires you to use magnesis in order to make that little walkway, and then also to cut down the bridge that comes down, and then there's those 3 massive boulders in front of you. You just put them on top of the thing, and now they don't touch you.
Right, but
I love that, figuring out those little things.
Yeah, and there's also the cryonis.
But here's the problem.
All right.
The problem is, okay, what's the cool stuff that you can do in Breath of the Wild? Well, I confuse things with things. Okay, so we're going to be in fixed environments, and there might be some random materials on the floor, or we're going to try to put things together. Those 2 core concepts, the Ultrahand and the Fuse, I don't know how well they would work in the shrine environment, which is the reason I'm hesitant to think that we're not getting shrines.
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
We're not getting conventional shrines.
All right, if they change it up, cool. But I need my shrines. That was one thing I honestly love that about Breath of the Wild so much. Austin, see, there you go, the gameplay loop. I loved finding these shrines.
So is the gameplay loop going to be? Here's 6 items that are obviously going to go together only one way for you to get from point A to point B.
It could be different, like you said earlier in the stream. We don't know. They could change it up. It could be unknown. And then even in that sense, like it's funny because like when you were talking about gameplay loop, I was just gonna bring up what's a gameplay loop I really, 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 really liked? Legends Arceus. That was a fun gameplay loop in my opinion. Super fun.
I played Legends Arceus pretty much just like Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, nice.
I only did the mandatory battles, and that was the only time I battled Pokemon.
Have you ever did you play Metal Gear Solid 5? Phantom Pain, the one that's like it's unfinished because that's at the point where Kojima left Konami and then they put it out.
Is that the one that has Quiet?
Yes.
Sure did.
Oh, I love that game.
I didn't fall in love with that one.
You didn't like it? I adored that game.
I liked it. I didn't fall in love with it.
Okay.
I didn't fall in love with that, and I didn't fall in love with 2.
But I love Sons of Liberty, yeah.
1, 3, and 4.
Gotcha. No, Guns of the Patriots.
3, I think, is my favorite.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good choice, Snake Eater and Subsidians. But like honestly, Phantom Pain was just for me it was on another level. But and the fact that game was
Phantom Pain was
unfinished.
4, right?
Phantom Pain was 5. Guns of the Patriots was 4. That one was super good too. That game is easily the PlayStation 3's best game.
I think I spent too much time making sure I didn't shower for a very specific reason in that game.
Oh, I know. Yep.
Yep.
And then
I think that became my objective, and then I fell off.
Nah, I saw that game to the end.
Oh, no, I beat the end. I made it to the end because I found out why she couldn't talk. That was the end, right?
It was very close to the end. It was very close to the end. Yep.
Yeah, I did beat it.
But
maybe it just had a lot going on, so it wasn't memorable.
I feel that. But moving back onto Zelda, I feel that like there's going to be a lot more combat in this game because that's one thing I want to talk about. Because like the whole idea with the fusion mechanic and putting weapons together, I feel that combat is going to be a lot more prevalent in this game than it was in Breath of the Wild. Considering that Breath of the Wild, like a common complaint was that enemies and dangers were so spread out to the game. It was more about exploration, which is a key factor to Zelda in a whole. But I feel there's going to be a lot more enemies. There's going to be a lot more combat. There's like the whole idea, the identity behind fusion belays, the need to like constantly be able to make these weapons, because I feel like you're going to be dogged on by enemies constantly, especially since Ganondorf is back and then, the Blood Moon is at a peak, like beyond peak. But how are you feeling on the idea of like, combat when it comes to Tears of the Kingdom? And also like relaying that to how you felt with combat in Breath of the Wild.
So I told you I played the randomizer, right?
Yeah.
I told you that very early in the game, I got the Master Cycle 0.
Mm-hmm.
In the randomizer, randomly, the game is going to just start spawning overworld enemies at places that they shouldn't be.
Ooh.
And let me tell you the fun I had of while I'm riding around on the Master Cycle 0, and I don't realize that I just drove into a Molduga. And then he comes out of the grass. Like, so much fun.
Oh, man.
And if I could just have an experience like that, that'd be great.
That would be great. Man, it's
well,
funny.
We've already seen more enemy variety in this upcoming game.
Yep.
But, like, that just means that we're going to have significantly more... Hey, what's the name of that flying thing?
I would.
You don't know the name, right?
We don't know the name, but I want to call it an I want to say that it's an Agarok in this game. That's how it looks. But
hang on a second here.
You're talking about like the yellow frog-looking flying thing. I think it's an Agarok. No, not Agarok. Kagarok. Wait, yeah, Kagarok. I think it's a Kagarok. But it could be something new.
Explicitly use a Keese eye.
Yes, in the second. In the. They say trailer 2, but it was like the
right now.
Yeah.
Because this entire time I've just been scrolling through the art book PDF.
No, you're good. Oh, wow.
And then, like, it inspires me to talk about specific things that have been officially released. Oh, yes, that is a Keese eyeball. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a similar looking eyeball dropped by some monster, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, there's going to be a lot more monster parts now.
Oh, yeah.
What are all the different monster parts going to do?
Yeah.
And then, like, do they have different effects on weapons versus arrows? Or are they all not compatible?
I
what would
think
be the purpose
of
putting a Keese eyeball on a shield?
Enemy aggro? Possibly. I mean, but enemies are already aggro too. Or, like, okay, enemies are usually naturally aggro to you, but if you put a Keese eyeball on your shield during a segment where there's a lot of, like, partner characters and you don't want them to die, you use the Keese eyeball to go on your shield in order for them to aggro you specifically.
Or maybe it makes bullet time easier?
That's another possibility.
But what does it do on your sword then?
When you throw your sword, it homes.
Long throw. Yep. Long throw confirmed.
There you go.
The worst power up. Except on spears.
On spears, it's good. Every time I see long throw on anything else like a claymore or sword, I'm like, okay, drop it. Bye. I'm like, I don't need this.
Well, I don't drop it. I throw it.
Yeah. But something like that.
But like a Guardian Spear plus long throw, that does some damage.
Ooh, yeah. And I love how it doesn't like render into like nothingness as you throw it. But this is all right. So this is the point where I'm gonna have to like wrap it up. So let's get the final part in.
We just hit hour 2.
Yeah, we're just hitting hour 2. That's crazy. Like just not so long ago, you were just finding your next teacup. But on the
we have fun.
Oh no, I'm having a blast. But this is where it's like the limit for me. But on that note, what is all right? Here we go. I already got an idea, but I want to get like straight from you. What's the first thing you're gonna do when you boot up this game? It doesn't have to be.
I'm not gonna spend too much time on the Sky Great Plateau.
Okay. You're gonna try and get the powers and just dip.
I'm gonna do, because every single time that I replay Breath of the Wild now, as soon as I get the paraglider, I go to the Great Plateau Tower, and then I look out in the distance and I mark down all of the towers.
Right.
I think I want to spend some time on marking down things that I see in the distance that I want to explore over time.
Mm.
That way, because like typically while you're playing, and also this first time, I'm not recording anything. I just play like 30 or 40 hours by myself. And I
same
highly recommend every single person watching right now, your first time playing this game, don't look at my videos. Don't look at Celtic. Don't look at anyone's. For your first day or two playing the game, explore it, get lost in it. Go do some weird shit. Because guess what? You're only going to have one time for that blind new experience. And after you have that blind new experience, and after you're familiar with the gameplay loop and the story beats, and then you want to get better at like that mid game, then go look stuff up. Because guess what? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go do weird stuff. I'm gonna see what happens when I put a mushroom on a. If I take a mushroom and then I put it on a fan, can I just use that as like a fogger and I kill mosquitoes? Can I do those things?
Right. I completely feel that.
Weird stuff. I'm just gonna go and explore the different mechanics in all of the ways that I want to, with no direct objective.
Yep. That's like, honestly, I'm gonna take a very similar approach. I'm just gonna play the game. Like, if anyone is expecting me to like stream this like day 1, day 2, probably like day 3, maybe, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna sit with this game myself, and I'm just gonna fuck around. Like, you don't understand. This is like 6 years in the making. I'm just gonna take my sweet ass time with it. And the fact that I'm gonna be going to Japan like 2 days after the game comes out doesn't help either. But once I'm ready, I hope you guys will still be there, ready for the content, because like I'm gonna go nutty. I'm gonna go nuts. Right?
You're gonna go nuttier than squirrel poop?
No, I'm gonna go Deku nutty. Deku nuttier than Deku seeds with the Hetsu final gift. Whatever.
You're gonna go nuttier than Hetsu's gift?
Hetsu's gift. Yep. Man, I hope Deku seeds Deku nuts don't return in the way they do in Tears of the Kingdom. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for coming out to this episode, this wild episode of The Fifth Dimension. And big thanks once again to Austin John Plays for being such an amazing guest and being here. Let them know, please, Austin, where they can find you, which I feel is impossible. Like, if you don't know who Austin is, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Austin, let them know where they can find you.
I am Austin John of the YouTube channel Austin John Plays here on youtube.com/HMK. I make tutorials and tips and tricks for AAA Nintendo titles, mostly of the Pokemon and Zelda franchises, with 2.23 million subscribers. If you're going to be playing a game in the Pokemon or Zelda franchises, subscribe to me, because I'm going to give you some pretty fun stuff to follow along with.
I'm telling you guys,
yeah,
like, this man saved my life so many times. It's crazy. But with that being said, thank y'all so much.
I'll also go like 9 months without posting anything.
No, you're not allowed, especially with that spreadsheet, not allowed. But you're not. We all need.
I mean, like between game releases.
I feel that. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been HMK and the Fifth Dimension. Thank you all so much for coming on out. We will see you guys next week for another episode centric to Tears of the Kingdom. Until then, this has been HMK and Austin John Plays, and we will check you guys later.
Is it over?
And